welcome to Hi Haley. So today's episode is extra special because we have our first non-Ascendex guest and also our first repeat guest. So thank you both for joining. To kick us off, we're going to go around the room real quick and do some introductions, and we'll start with Joe.
Thanks, Haley. Joe Harris, H3 Solutions. I'm a solution architect. I was the owner of the company before we sold it last year. And now I get to do all the fun stuff again and don't have to worry about running a business.
All right, Brandon, we'll give it to you.
Perfect. Yes. Brandon Mache. I lead our Amplify division of Ascendex, and that's our talent placement wing. And then I also lead our data, BI, and AI group as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. So, Joe, I've already asked Brandon my famous question, so I'm going to have to spotlight you today and say, what are you currently watching on TV?
So the current thing that I'm watching, it's called Mayor of Kingstown. It's on Showtime. It's with Jeremy Renner. It's about a Michigan town and how it's basically run by jails and bad people. It's really good. But my favorite thing so far this year has been the Fallout series. It was great on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend it. The music is done by Giovanni from Game of Thrones and Westworld. It's very, very good.
You're the first one to give us two, so yeah. I appreciate that.
I can give you more.
We can go all day and just talk about that instead.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, all right. So there's so much excitement and just buzz around the word AI and its ability to not only like enrich, but totally transform your data experience. Now, Joe, you've seen the evolution of AI firsthand, but before we dive into Copilot, can you just walk us through your experience with AI?
Sure. So let's go back about 7 years. Back in 2017, me and my brother actually built a platform for building chatbots. So this was back before ChatGPT was a thing. It was called Atbot. It's still there today, but we are retiring it soon. It's what I call kind of the dumb AI. So it doesn't really have a machine learning model behind it. It's more of kind of like the question and answer type chatbot thing. But it got us introduced into language understanding models and conversational AI and just how that whole thing works. And then when ChatGPT became a thing, one of the first experiences I had with it was using it to help my son with his math homework. Because, I mean, math is not my greatest strong suit, especially calculus. And being able to just punch something into an AI in plain language and having it come back and give you step by step how to do that thing, I saw it as magical. It really was. It was really, really great. And all my kids kind of used ChatGPT to help them kind of learn things and solve things. And if we take a look back and kind of reflect on what we had when we grew up, right? So for me, it was Cliff Notes, right? So ChatGPT is kind of like the Cliff Notes for the web. So back when, I was supposed to read that book, but I didn't, I could go to Barnes & Noble and grab Cliff Notes for that and read through it in a couple of hours. And I've read the book. But now, go another 15 years and Google became the new Cliff Notes for users. They would go into Google and they would type what it is that they wanted to know. And then, Wikipedia became a thing. And then now we have ChatGPT, where it's kind of like, it's exactly, I think, what they wanted to ask Jeeves to be back in, 1999, 2001. But now it really is a thing, and it really, really is cool. The whole idea of large language models to be able to ask in plain language and get answers based on a huge body of knowledge that is the internet is really, really powerful. And then there's also, Microsoft is, and I don't know we're going to continue to talk about this, but Microsoft is giving the tooling to enrich that body of knowledge with business data that can really make these large language models really, really powerful from a business case and business use scenarios.
Yeah, I would have liked ChatGPT in high school and college. We weren't there yet. That would have made things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, like you said, you're the expert. So how have you seen specifically the industry adopt Microsoft's Copilot?
Sure. So primarily my customers are federal and DoD. So they're usually kind of like the last to adopt anything. However, with AI becoming so prevalent, actually, you know what? This is a good chance to kind of go back to the pandemic. The pandemic really kind of kicked a lot of these agencies and commercial agencies as well, but I saw it a lot in federal and DoD to update their back office technology. Teams became and Zoom, but Teams became a hugely required technology within organizations. So and then with that, they kind of got all the other goodness that Microsoft kind of slid under with, Power Automate and the Power Platform, Power BI, all the other things that you get with Office 365. It kind of forced a lot of agencies to move from on-prem to the cloud. And that opens a lot of doors. And so with that kind of push, I think those agencies are now starting to stay in, in the front lines of technology, and AI becoming that front line in about 2022. They saw that as very important to adopt for a lot of their use cases. So I've seen fairly slow adoption on the Copilot, the built-in Office 365 Copilots, because again, this is from a DoD federal perspective. It's seen as a bit of a black box in terms of, when I type something in, it does magic, but what I typed in, where does that go? And what is Microsoft doing with that? And those types of questions are there. When it comes to the custom copilots that you can build with like Copilot Studio or AI Studio, they feel like they have a little bit more control over where all of this data is going, where it's coming from, because they see a lot of that in their their tenant, their Azure tenant, if it's AI Studio, or within the I guess the Dataverse platform, if it's the Copilot Studio chatbot. So it's still kind of in a little bit of not really transition, but evolution. And I think agencies they see a lot of value, and there's a lot of pilot programs and things of that nature going on. We did launch a custom Copilot from Copilot Studio with a DoD agency, and that's been very, very successful. One of the biggest benefits that you get from it, going back to the chatbot platform that we had created 7 years ago, that was what I call a dumb, it's got question and answer type stuff. That knowledge base had to be curated and managed, separate from all the other content and data that organization managed. With a Copilot built in Copilot Studio, you can now have a chatbot that is, all knowing of all of the data that they have on the public internet. And that can be accessed through the LLM that's behind that Copilot. And so now they get rid of all of that maintenance that they had to do with the old chatbot, and just maintain their website content, their public content, and everything that feeds into that Copilot. So lots and lots of benefits with this new platform.
So Joe, on that front, right, you're speaking to the data piece, right, which is obviously something I'm passionate about. And so as an organization, or individuals at an organization think about leveraging Copilot, there's still a lot related to making sure your data is clean, so to speak, right? And so can you bring some insight as to how an organization could get ready, so to speak, for leveraging Copilot? Because, right, you don't want to ask it a question and then the insight isn't what you would expect as an output, because maybe some of the data behind the scenes is incorrect. So just give some insight related to that.
Sure. So in order to feed data into a Copilot, you use what's called the RAG methodology. It's resource augmented generation, where essentially you provide the LLM a search index to use as its data source. So let's say, for example, you have a large body of data, maybe in a Snowflake data warehouse that you want to make available to your chatbot so that you can interact with it conversationally. In order to make that available, you have to put a Microsoft recommends the Azure AI search, which is a vector search index over the top of that data. I don't believe Snowflake is a native place that AI search can search. So you may have to do some ETL into Cosmos or some other platform for that data, so that AI search can pick it up. But essentially, AI search will index that content, whatever it is. It can be in document form, it can be in structured data form, etc. It just becomes indexed content. And then you can take that AI search and plug it into your Copilot and make it available to the LLM. So essentially, your flow looks like user types something, the LLM understands the keywords to search, it searches, it gets the search results back, then the LLM takes the search results and constructs a response and sends it back to the user.
It's so interesting you mentioned the government earlier, just like working with them. And I today was on a website and I was using the bot because I couldn't figure what I needed out. And the first thing I get back is basically bot is dead. And I'm like, this is a government website, I need some sort of help. But classic. So they're still learning. But we must know, do you have like a favorite feature of Copilot or maybe AI in general? Like, what's your favorite feature?
So I think probably one of the best moves that Microsoft did, it's not going to help on those business cases with internal data, but one of the greatest things that they did, or one of the biggest strengths that Copilot Studio has. Copilot Studio is the no-code platform for building custom Copilots. Is they already had public Bing search, which Bing search index is a thing. It's been a thing for many years, and they leverage that and allow it to be a part of your Copilot, and you can basically specify domains that you want to be available in your custom Copilot. So, for example, Ascendex, if you guys wanted to have a bot on your website that could tell people about your company when they ask specific questions, you could go into Copilot Studio in about 15 minutes, create a chatbot that's connected to your website, loading in all of your FAQs that's and whatever else is on the website, blogs, etc. And you would now have a conversational AI assistant for anything within your website. They could ask, what's your address? They could ask, what do you think of AI? And it would pull up blog articles that you may have written and things like that, and send that back. So I think that's probably the most, I'm not going to say compelling. That's the smartest thing that Microsoft has done so far. There's a lot of other things that they've done that are really cool. So like messaging extensions, which is it's basically a plugin architecture for the Office 365 Copilots. Mm-hmm. So the ability to build in a custom extension to the Office 365 Copilot for business data. So let's say you have, I don't know, Salesforce is a bad example because that's probably something that's going to have its own like bridge. But let's say you have a custom line of business application that you want users to be able to leverage. And when I say leverage, I mean not only ask questions of, but let's say you want to have the Copilot build you a PowerPoint presentation based on data that's in that line of business application. You can build a messaging extension that will help users to do that. And I think that is very compelling.
Makes you want to go back to college. Like, let me go do this again. I got a friend now. Awesome. Well, we're so glad you're on Hi Haylee today, and I'm excited to keep this conversation going in another episode. But again, appreciate you both being on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.